Hello everyone, I'm going to show you the most effective trick if you're below 1000 ELO to beat opponents. That trick is called the King's Gambit. Despite being looked down upon newbies for weakening the king, that doesn't mean that it can't be a viable option. Though outshined by the Queen's Gambit, the King's Gambit is a very versatile and easy to learn gambit. Today I'll show you some basic variation and give you tips for the middle game. I'll discuss KGD and Bishop's Gambit variation of the King's Gambit. Alright, so let me show you the basics of the King's Gambit. So, the King's Gambit starts by you playing e4. In order for the King's Gambit to be initiated, your opponent has to play e5, and then you open f4. This is the starting position of the King's Gambit. So, the King's Gambit is meant to be a versatile and attacking opening that will lead to very interesting and open games, usually. So for the first variation we're going to be looking into is, of course, the accepting variation. So for the accept variation, there's two moves I recommend here. There's knight f3, which is the king's knight gambit, and there's the king bishop's gambit, which is bishop c4. Both of these are good options. I usually prefer knight f3 because it's a more simpler option. Usually most opponents will just follow up either d6, which is the Fischer's defense, or go for something a little bit more attacking, like g5. The reason for going g5 is because you're eventually going to be playing, say your opponent plays d6, you're usually going to play d4, and then their pawn gets open, and there's no other way to defend it than by playing g5. If they play g5, it's never a bad move to go for either h4 or g3 to attack their pawns. When you play g3, they might play something like g4 to attack your knight, which is a smart move. You can move your knight anywhere. g1 is okay. It's not the best move. The best move is to move it to h4, even though it's on the side of the board, which is usually not a good principle. You can still just attack this pawn later with something like this, bishop e2, later into the game. So that's the basics. And then for Queen's Gambit declined, which is when they don't accept your gambit, and they instead go for something like knight c6, which is the queen's knight defense, you can either play knight f3, or you can play d3, which are the best options usually. I usually play d3 because it defends your pawn, but knight f3 is perfectly fine. From here, they can either take, which is the McLeod defense, or they can just simply start their development with d6, which is usually what you're going to see more often. And if they take your pawn on f4, you can simply play d4, which opens up the bishop on c1 to attack the f4 pawn. And since your knight is on f3, which you placed it there before, is also defending your pawn on d4. Now here you can also play d5 if you'd like. If your opponent plays g5, d5 is a good option. It can kick the knight away, and it's an immediate attack. Still here, you're going to want to play h4. And if they take, you can simply take back with the knight because you have two pieces protecting it, your knight and your rook. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.